I have seen the profound impact that meal timing has on the aging body through years of observation and clinical practice. I remember a specific patient named Robert, a 72-year-old gentleman who was trapped in a debilitating cycle of afternoon fatigue and rising glucose levels. He believed that eating small meals every few hours was the only way to maintain his strength, yet he felt constantly sluggish, heavy, and mentally foggy. His previous medical advice had focused entirely on what he was eating, completely ignoring the metabolic burden of when he was eating, leaving him frustrated and seeing no progress. You might recognize these symptoms in your own life, feeling a heavy food coma after lunch, or noticing that your morning blood sugar readings remain stubbornly high regardless of your evening meal. It is possible that the standard advice you have received regarding frequent eating is actually preventing your body from entering the necessary repair modes it requires as you age. Before we begin, a critical disclaimer. The information I'm sharing today is strictly for educational purposes and should not be considered medical advice. I am not your personal physician and cannot provide individualized medical guidance through this video. Never stop, start, or change any diabetes medication or dietary regimen without first consulting with your doctor. 1. Structure your single meal to prioritize protein and fiber before any refined carbohydrates to manage the immediate hour 0 to hour 4 window. 4. This specific ordering of food during your one meal creates a physical barrier in your digestive system that slows down the absorption of sugars into your bloodstream. When you consume your meal, your body immediately enters what is known as the anabolic or fed state, where the primary goal is energy storage and processing. For older adults, this phase is critical because our insulin sensitivity, the ability of our cells to accept energy, is naturally lower than it was in our youth. If you rush this window with simple starches, your insulin spikes aggressively, leading to a crash later. However, by buffering the stomach with protein and fiber first, you ensure a slow, steady release of energy that sustains you for the hours to come. I recall Robert, the patient I mentioned earlier, who used to break his fast with soft breads or pasta because they were easy to chew and comforted his stomach. At 72, he would experience a massive surge of energy followed by a severe crash that left him asleep in his chair by 2 p.m., unable to enjoy his afternoon. We corrected this by having him eat a portion of chicken and steamed broccoli before he touched any rice or bread. The improvement was documented almost immediately. He reported feeling alert after his meal rather than exhausted, and his post-meal jitteriness vanished completely. During these first 4 hours, hour 0 to hour 4, your pancreas is working hardest to secrete insulin to move glucose from your blood into your cells for energy. In a senior body, digestion demands a significant amount of blood flow and energy, which is why you might feel colder or tired if the meal is too heavy or unbalanced. The blood is being redirected from your extremities and brain to your gut to aid in this massive processing task. This is not a time of fat burning or repair. It is a time of storage, where every calorie is being sorted and filed away. If you constantly interrupt this process with snacks, the body never finishes this task, leading to a backlog of energy that eventually gets stored as visceral fat around the organs. To do this correctly, sit down for your one meal and visually divide your plate, ensuring you start with the most fibrous vegetables and the protein source. Chew slowly and thoroughly as digestion begins in the mouth, and this mechanical breakdown reduces the workload on your stomach. Do not rush this meal. Allow it to take 30 to 45 minutes if possible, giving your hormonal signals time to register fullness. A relevant caution here is to avoid overstuffing yourself to the point of pain. The goal is satiety, not maximum capacity, as excessive pressure on the stomach can lead to reflux, which is common in older adults. This simple ordering supports significantly steadier blood sugar readings in the hours that follow. 2. Commit to light physical movement, such as a 15-minute walk during the transition phase of hour 4 to hour 8. Engaging in gentle movement as your body transitions out of the fed state helps your muscles soak up the remaining glucose in your bloodstream without requiring excessive insulin. This creates a smoother transition from using food for energy to using stored energy, preventing the sudden crash that many seniors fear. This period, from roughly 4 to 8 hours after your last bite, is when blood sugar levels begin to fall back toward baseline. For many, this drop can trigger a false sense of urgency or anxiety, making you feel as though you need to eat again, but this is often just the body switching fuel sources. Robert struggled immensely during this window, often interpreting the natural settling of his stomach as a medical emergency or a sign of weakness. He would typically reach for a biscuit or a piece of fruit around the 6-hour mark, thinking he was topping up his tank. But in reality, he was shutting down his body's attempt to access its own fat stores. We corrected this by having him take a gentle walk around his garden or do light household tidying when he felt that mid-afternoon dip. The improvement was substantial. He found that the movement distracted his mind and stabilized his energy, proving that he didn't need food. He just needed blood circulation. Physiologically, during hours 4 through 8, your insulin levels are finally dropping, signaling to the liver that the influx of food has stopped. Your liver prepares to switch gears from storing energy to releasing it, utilizing a stored form of sugar called glycogen. This is a critical metabolic switch that must happen for health, but in bodies that are fed constantly, this switch becomes rusty and inefficient. By moving during this window, you manually assist your body in lowering blood sugar, forcing the muscles to utilize the energy that is currently available, which helps facilitate a faster and smoother transition into the fasting state. To implement this, plan a specific low-intensity activity for the time of day when you would normally feel that post-meal slump or the urge to snack. It does not need to be vigorous exercise. Simply standing, stretching, or walking at a conversational pace is enough to keep your metabolism engaged. Hydration is also key here. Drinking a glass of water can often quell the sensations that mimic hunger during this transition. If you are on medication that lowers blood sugar, you must monitor your levels during this window to ensure you do not drop too low as your body adapts to this new rhythm. This habit effectively bridges the gap between external food energy and internal fat utilization. 3. Allow your digestive system to enter a state of complete rest to activate the cleaning waves during hours 8 to 12. Resisting the urge to consume calories during this window allows the migrating motor complex, MMC, to sweep through your digestive tract, clearing out debris, bacteria, and undigested food. This physiological process is crucial for preventing bloating, indigestion, and bacterial overgrowth, issues that plague many older adults. This cleaning cycle can only occur when the stomach and small intestine are completely empty and insulin levels are low. If you consume even a small amount of calories, like milk in your tea or a handful of nuts, this cleaning mechanism stops immediately and the cleaning wave is reset to the beginning. I remember discussing this with Robert, who complained of chronic bloating and a feeling of fullness that never seemed to go away, even when he hadn't eaten for hours. He was unknowingly sabotaging his gut health by drinking sweetened beverages late in the evening, thinking liquids didn't count as food. We corrected this mistake by switching him to plain water or herbal tea without additives after his meal window had closed. One distinct improvement he noticed within a week was a significantly flatter stomach in the morning and a reduction in the acid reflux that had bothered him for years. During hours 8 to 12, your body has finished processing the meal and has depleted the immediate glucose floating in the bloodstream. The liver is now the primary provider of energy, releasing stored glycogen to keep your brain and organs functioning perfectly. This is the first stage of true fasting, where the body is no longer burdened by the intake of new material and can turn its attention to internal maintenance. For seniors, this is when inflammation markers begin to drop because the immune system is no longer active in the gut reacting to food proteins. It is a period of quiet restoration that is essential for setting the stage for deeper repair later on. To do this, you must be strict with your nothing but water rule once you have passed the 8-hour mark after your meal. You can drink plain water, black coffee, or plain tea, but avoid artificial sweeteners, creamers, or bone broths during this specific time, as they can trigger digestion. Mental preparation is helpful. Remind yourself that the sensations you feel are not starvation, but rather your body finally getting the chance to clean house. A caution here is to be mindful of your hydration. As insulin drops, your body flushes out water and electrolytes, so you may need to drink slightly more fluid than usual to avoid a headache. This discipline lays the foundation for the deep cellular renewal that occurs in the later hours. 4. Expect and welcome a slight cooling sensation or mild fatigue as your body initiates deep cellular cleaning during hours 12 to 16. This drop in body temperature and energy is not a sign that you are failing, rather it is the physical signal that your body has depleted its easy sugar reserves and is turning on a process called autophagy. Autophagy is the body's internal recycling system, where it hunts down old, damaged, or dysfunctional cells, proteins that are cluttering your system, and breaks them down to be reused. For a senior, this is the most critical phase for longevity, as it is the primary mechanism your body uses to repair joints, clean up neural pathways, and reduce the risk of erratic cell growth. If you eat now, you immediately shut off this repair crew and send them home, leaving the trash inside your cells for another day. I recall a patient named Margaret, age 68, who suffered from persistent stiffness in her knees and hands that made her mornings difficult. She would often break her fast at the 12-hour mark with a biscuit or sweet tea, believing her shakiness was dangerous low blood sugar when in fact it was simply her body switching fuel sources. We corrected this by having her drink warm water with a pinch of sea salt during this specific window to stabilize her electrolytes without breaking the fast. The improvement was remarkable. Within 3 weeks, she reported that the rusty feeling in her joints had diminished significantly, and she could move more freely upon waking. Physiologically, during hours 12 to 16, your insulin levels have dropped to their lowest baseline, and your growth hormone levels begin to rise to protect your muscles. This hormonal shift is protective, ensuring that while the body scavenges for damaged proteins to burn, it does not burn your healthy muscle tissue. This is a common fear among older adults that fasting will eat away their muscles, but nature has built-in safeguards that actually preserve lean mass during this specific window, provided you do not stay sedentary forever. The body is resourceful. It burns the furniture, fat, and waste to keep the house, muscle, and organs warm. To manage this, simply dress a little warmer during this time or sip on warm fluids, as digestion produces heat and its absence can make you feel chilly. Mentally frame this period as a healing session rather than a period of deprivation. If you feel a wave of tiredness, allow yourself to rest for 20 minutes. It will pass as your body successfully switches to fat-burning mode. A necessary caution is for those on blood pressure medication. As insulin drops, your kidneys excrete sodium, so you may feel lightheaded if you stand up too quickly, which is why hydration with electrolytes is vital. This phase is the most potent tool you have for internal rejuvenation without medication. 5. Utilize the window of hours 16 to 20 to tackle cognitive tasks requiring focus and mental sharpness. Harnessing this specific time frame allows you to take advantage of the brain's preferred fuel source, which shifts from glucose to ketones as the fast deepens. Ketones are a cleaner, more efficient fuel that produces less oxidative stress in the brain than sugar, often resulting in a sensation of a lifting fog. Many seniors accept memory lapses or senior moments as inevitable, but frequently these are exacerbated by the constant rise and fall of blood sugar that dulls neural connectivity. During this window, your liver is aggressively converting stored body fat into these powerful energy molecules, providing a steady stream of power to your brain that doesn't jitter or crash. I remember James, a 74-year-old retired accountant, who was terrified by his increasing forgetfulness, often losing his train of thought mid-sentence. He had been snacking on crackers and fruit throughout the day to keep his brain going, but this only led to afternoon drowsiness and mental sluggishness. We corrected his routine by pushing his first meal to later in the day, allowing him to experience this 18-hour mark of fasting. The improvement he described was like cleaning a dirty windshield. He found he could complete his crossword puzzles faster and retained names with a clarity he hadn't felt in a decade. During hours 16 to 20, a potent protein called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, also increases. Think of this as fertilizer for your brain cells. It supports the survival of existing neurons and encourages the growth of new ones and synapses. In an older brain, this is crucial for neuroplasticity, the ability to learn new things and adapt. While the rest of the body is calm, the brain is highly active and protected during this state. It is a biological myth that the brain needs dietary sugar every few hours. It actually functions exceptionally well, often better, on the energy liberated from your own fat stores. To do this, schedule your most mentally demanding tasks, whether it's managing finances, reading complex material, or learning a new hobby during these late fasting hours. You will likely find your concentration is sustained and your mood is more stable. Do not engage in heavy physical exertion if you are new to this, but mental exertion is highly encouraged. A relevant caution is to not be alarmed if your breath smells slightly fruity or metallic during this time. This is a common side effect of ketosis and is a sign that the process is working. This habit clears the cobwebs from your mind and supports long-term cognitive health. 6. Recognize and ride out the transient hunger waves that occur during hours 20 to 24 without reacting to them. Understanding that hunger is a hormonal wave, not a linear accumulation of need, empowers you to complete the full 24-hour cycle without distress. The hormone responsible for hunger, ghrelin, peaks at times when you are conditioned to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But if you ignore it, the levels drop back down naturally. Many seniors panic at the first rumble of the stomach, fearing they will faint or that they are doing damage. But this sensation is simply a habit loop that can be retrained. By the time you reach this final stretch, your body is fully adapted to running on its own fat stores, and true hunger actually diminishes. I recall seeing a patient named Elena, 70, who was convinced she had hypoglycemia because she felt shaky if she missed lunch, despite her blood work showing normal ranges. Her mistake was reacting to the anticipation of food rather than a physiological need for it. We corrected this by teaching her to wait just 30 minutes when a hunger wave hit, engaging in a distraction like calling a friend or knitting. The improvement was immediate. She realized the hunger would vanish completely on its own, allowing her to reach the 24-hour mark comfortably and proving to herself that she was in control, not her cravings. Physiologically, during hours 20 to 24, your insulin sensitivity is at its absolute peak. This means that when you finally do eat, your body will be incredibly efficient at absorbing nutrients and moving glucose into the muscles where it belongs, rather than storing it as fat. Your digestive system has had a complete rest, inflammation is at its lowest point, and your stem cells, the raw materials for new tissue, are beginning to activate. You have effectively hit a reset button on your metabolism. The fear of starvation mode is largely unfounded in this short time frame. Instead, you have created a demand for energy that makes your next meal deeply nourishing. To do this, use a timer or a clock to objectively measure the hunger wave. Tell yourself, I will reassess this feeling in 20 minutes. Almost invariably, the ghrelin hormone will retreat and you will regain your focus. Drink a glass of mineral water to fill the gastric space, which sends a signal of fullness to the brain via the vagus nerve. A caution here is to avoid high-intensity exercise in this final hour if you feel lightheaded, as your glycogen stores are fully depleted. This discipline maximizes your body's ability to handle the food you are about to eat. 7. Break your fast with a sarcopenia defense meal that prioritizes high-quality protein and healthy fats. Refilling your body with the correct building blocks immediately after a 24-hour fast is the single most important action to prevent age-related muscle loss. Sarcopenia, the natural loss of muscle mass as we age, is accelerated not by fasting, but by under-eating protein when you do eat. Your body is now like a dry sponge, ready to absorb whatever you give it. If you break this fast with toast, soup, or crackers, you miss the critical window to stimulate muscle synthesis. You must provide a robust dose of amino acids to signal the body to rebuild the tissues it has cleaned during the fast. I remember Thomas, a 75-year-old man who practiced one meal a day but was becoming increasingly frail and weak. His mistake was that his one meal was a bowl of vegetable stew and a slice of bread, filling but almost devoid of the protein required to maintain his frame. We corrected this by restructuring his plate to include 3 eggs or a significant portion of oily fish like salmon before he ate his vegetables. The improvement in his grip strength and walking speed over 2 months was substantial. He regained his vitality because he was finally feeding his muscles what they required. Directly explained, the body's requirement for protein increases as we age because our efficiency in processing it decreases. After a fast, your growth hormone is high, priming the body for repair. You need a minimum of 30 to 40 grams of protein in this sitting to trigger muscle protein synthesis. Fats are also crucial here to stimulate the gallbladder to release bile, which has built up during the fast. This aids in digestion and absorption of fat-soluble vitamins like vitamin D and A. To do this, prepare your meal before you start eating. Ensure there is a palm-sized portion of protein, beef, chicken, fish, or eggs, and cook it in healthy fats like olive oil or butter. Eat this protein first. Do not fill up on bread, rice, or potatoes until the protein is consumed. This ensures that if you get full early, you have already secured the most vital nutrients. A final caution is to eat this meal slowly. Your digestive enzymes have been dormant, and rushing can cause immediate stomach upset or diarrhea. This reinforcing habit ensures that your fasting builds a stronger, not weaker body. If you know someone over 50 who could benefit from this, share this video, and subscribe for more simple health tips.